We'll make a start. Welcome everybody, I'm Phil, VK7 India Delta, and this evening we have with us Mr. Greg Bird from Surf Life Saving Tasmania to talk to us about their statewide radio network. A little bit of background, Greg and I worked together at Telstra for the best part of 30 odd years, I suppose. And post Telstra, Greg has spent most of his time with the Australian Antarctic Division. He's travelled south on many occasions, telecommunications, water safety, and even postmaster roles at one point.
Flicking stamps.
Of more relevance to tonight's presentation though, Greg has been an active member of Surf Life Saving Australia for pretty much all of his life. He's done just about every role you could do in surf life saving, from beach patrols through competitions where he's very successful rowing surf boats, training both locally, interstate and overseas, and then moving into various committees and board and executive roles. Greg's currently on the board of the Bicheno Surf Life Saving Club where he lives, and he's on several committees for Surf Life Saving Tasmania, where he's been recognised for his services with life membership. Please give a warm welcome to Greg.
Hi, thank you, Phil. I'm going to go through a presentation. I've adapted a presentation. I was asked by a manufacturer, Omintronics, who we use as a provider of services, or rather equipment. And they asked me to do a presentation at Comms Connect for their product 2 years ago and in Melbourne. So I've just adapted that as a structure to work through, and then I'll divert off that into more technical and more interesting stuff. So don't hesitate to ask questions along the way. I'll try and answer as much as I can. I'm not a complete radio nerd, so please be careful with me. So what I'm going to do is just give you an overview. So this is in the figures around about 2018-19. So Surf Tas is not for profit. We're our state's major water safety rescue service provider, and we're called upon by the Tas Police at times to do rescues as required or assistance as required. We are actually the peak provider of swift water for Tas Police, or rather SES. So we're kind of like an arm of SES, whereas SES have given up the water component. We've taken that on for obvious reasons. We have boat skills. It's really quite simple, and that was an easy fit for us. We've got 24 volunteer surf clubs and marine rescue groups, probably 3,000 active lifesavers, that's lifeguards now. In 18-19 we do 76 rescues, 11,000 preventive actions. That's probably the biggest figure we chase, the preventive actions. So that's between the flags or a patrol beach. We try to keep that figure as high as possible, if you know what I mean, or rather than chasing the other stuff. The first aid treatments are along the way, and they spend like 21,000 volunteer patrol hours per year as a total, which is a fair bit of a commitment. So we've got clubs, we've got coverage across the northwest coast, starting from Bridport. Not Bridport, what am I saying? Starts with B, Boat Harbour and Wynyard. Starting up here, Boat Harbour and Wynyard, and working along the coast to Bridport on the northeast. We have an inshore, I suppose, a group in Launceston that do smooth water and some surf water. So they're up on the dam at Trevellyn. Down the east coast, St Helens Marine Rescue, Scamander, Bicheno and Swansea. Swansea is a marine rescue group. Back in 2000 and 15 or 10 to 15 we've merged. We took over the marine rescue groups, and they are part of their affiliates to Surf Life Saving now. So we're the marine rescue group for Tasmania, and they come in under us.
What equipment do they have?
So it varies. Down south, there's down at Kettering, we've got a 30-foot shark cat, and another shark cat in Dodgers Ferry. Cole in Swansea's got a rib, just a smaller rib. St Helens have a bigger cabin type boat. Can't think of this, about 7 metres. Tamer, they've got a 9-metre Naiad with twin 200s on the back. It's just an absolute weapon.
It's government money, I think.
No, it has community fund actually. Yeah, so it's very little government money, would you believe? It's it's an interesting animal. Hope they're watching actually, the government at the time. There's some opportunities there for them. And there's an election coming up too, isn't there?
Maybe sooner than we think.
Yeah. And there's Wynyard guys, Wynyard Yacht Club. I haven't seen their new facility yet, but apparently it's enormous. And they look after the northwest coast. They've got a couple of little boats, I don't think of the name of them, but on a small 5-metre rib. And Ulverston is newly formed, Ulverston Marine Rescue, and they're alongside on the river there to Ulverston Surf Life Saving Club. So most of the clubs, all the Surf Life Saving clubs, have got two or three IRBs, which are like a 3.8 metre with a 20 horse, 25 horse outboard on the back, with propeller guards. It's a standard issue, Australian standard that we use across Australia. So every club's got 2 of those. And our remit is to look after the inshore coastline. The police department have got 5 huge boats for this area down in the south, and they change one in and out of Tamer. I'm trying to think of the name of it.
Not Beauty Point, is it?
Yes, Beauty Point. Yeah, out of Beauty Point. So that's us. I think I've got most of those things there. Down the bottom there. So we've got. So we're running jet skis, kind of. RWCs, we call them rescue watercraft. They've been around for quite a while, but they're quite a limited sort of device. Single operator, single engine, quite fast.
Lots of fun.
Yes, lots of fun. Really good in really big waves, so they don't get used that often for rescues that much now, strangely enough. They're just a fantastic thing in a wave. You can just go straight through a 10-foot wave in these things and just hang on. They're fabulous. The northeast, yes, we've got a jet boat. That's even more fun. That's limited to your fear, that one. Seriously, it's got like a 350 horsepower diesel Yanmar inside an aluminium bullet. It's literally that shape. And it's out of Queensland, that's the Queensland shape. Really wasted for Tasmanian waters. That's really for the big surf in Queensland on the coast there. That's a fabulous bit of gear. It's a bit old now, and we're probably looking to change that out for something more simpler and more trailable. It's quite it's not a light thing. It's about 2 tonne, 2.2 tonne, and the trailer brings it up to about nearly 3 tonne with all that diesel on it. But gee, that's fun. I was on the
jet powered.
Jet. Oh yes, Hamilton jet. Sorry, single Hamilton jet. We have it with a 350 horsepower diesel in front of it.
Full power in 6 inches of water.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and that's what I had to do. I was coming in for a report. Huge northerly on Bass Strait. You can imagine short, sharp waves behind us like this, and we're trying a flat stick going inshore to try and get away from the wave, trying to keep away from it, just going flat out. And we're getting shallower and shallower and shallower. I said, we've got to turn. So we just turned and just went straight into it and went straight through it. Poof. Didn't even know it was there. It's an awesome bit of gear. I'm rabbiting on. I should keep moving. Oh, here we are. Right. So we've got 28 IRBs, 7 offshore boats, 2 jet boats, jet rescue boats. We've retired one of those, the old one. 4 jet skis, probably only 2 now. And we've got drones. So we're going to have, the plan is to have drones in every club because they are such a useful device from a surveillance point of view. You can put them out at the start of a patrol, look for sharks maybe, or just, for the sake of doing it. It really is a, what's the word?
Justification.
Yeah, justification, I suppose. Yeah, and we have 3 specialist floods with water IRBs. So they're a double skin, it's a vinyl rather than a hyperlon, double skin, a bit bigger, it's like a 4 metre rib, not a rib, just an IRB with 25 horsepower on the back. They suffer a lot in the rivers. We need a different solution because the prop cards really get belted up on the rocks and the gravel. You really know when you fit the rocks. So it's not a great sound. So our challenge is workplace health and safety. Okay, we're like any other organisation. We've got to look after volunteers, and what we had no dispatch system, no voice recording, assets are out of sight, limited coordination resources, no mapping of assets, no tracking history. So we're pretty blind. As soon as someone disappears at an IB beyond a headland, we don't know where they are, what they're doing, or what's happened to them. So we had to do something. So we real-time tracking and voice data and search and rescue incidents for controllers. We had to do interoperability between agencies. We needed address drowning beyond the flags. So that's the term we use because most of our work is between the flags. We set up patrols so people stand there and watch people swimming or doing stuff between the flags on the beach. Anything beyond the flags is a huge task. So we merged with the Volunteer Marine Rescue affiliation. They come under us now. We have single operator rescue watercraft. So you don't know where they've gone. They can do 60 kilometres an hour, or 60 mile an hour, rather, and 60 knots. They're scalable. Growth and budget we needed, and we didn't want to be tied to bricks and mortar, so we want a virtual solution so as we can move it around. So we don't want to build like you guys have done, build something permanent, because we didn't know where we wanted to be. We're renting space for headquarters, but it wasn't necessarily the right solution where you wanted it. And we were the lead agency for floods with water, a rescue service for the emergency services. So we had to find a solution for it. So some time ago we engaged the crowd from Launceston, and that went fairly well for a while in the analogue version of it. And we had a lot of quite a few repeaters around the state in analogue. But then we got to the point where we needed to track. We were using an early version of tracking using CDMA. You remember CDMA? So I had a little CDMA modem in a waterproof box strapped to the back of the jet ski, and that was the tracking solution. That's really. And the guys down at Powercom, I don't know if you guys know Powercom guys.
They've done some presentations here.
Oh really? Phil and the guys. Phil and I, we were awarded a special award for creating this solution, and on CDMA. Yes, they were the days. And one of the electronics guys who designed the circuit boards and stuff was Tom Luttrell. I don't know if you've met Tom or heard of Tom. He works for the Antarctic Division as well with Kim. So that was the first version, and then ICOM developed a radio. Would you believe? ICOM. Yeah, right. ICOM IDAS. They made a radio, commercial radio, which was also waterproof.
Ah.
Because all of our stuff was, sorry, come back a little bit. So all our analogue stuff was VHF Marine band. So I got Brian Muir back in 1983, Brian and I, and a bloke called Jeff Martin, if you come Jeff from SES, we created channels just outside the Marine band, or within the Marine band, so as we could have, because ICOM made a Marine waterproof radio that you could program channels into it. So we had a number of channels, all the repeater channels just outside the Marine band, so we could use all the 16, 73, 72 and all those are available for emergency, so we could listen to those or talk to people on those, plus we could talk privately on our own channels. It was a great solution. Brian Muir, don't know if he's still around. I think you were saying Brian's still around.
TMR.
Yeah,
He must be
he's the
ancient.
head honcho.
Must
An
be
operation out the back there. That's
yeah. Oh, what's coming up to say? I wonder if he remembers me. Anyway, so then ICOM developed this. ICOM NXDN using their proprietary own FDM. It's not time division multiplex. It's frequency division multiplex. Unfortunately, but anyway, so we went down this route. Hindsight's another thing, but you know.
Seemed like a good idea at the time.
Well, it was really, yeah. I don't think DMR was really off the ground then. This is 2010, I reckon. So DMR, definitely not DMR2 wasn't around, which is where we want to be, because you really do get two separate channels, whereas this one isn't two separate channels like they talk about. It really is you transmit the GPS or you transmit voice. So you do one or the other. You don't do both at the same time. It's an interesting conundrum. So we rolled that out, but then we wanted to do tracking. So this also has a small GPS in it. So it has its GPS and it transmits its position via VHF. Okay, so I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll slow down to that. So we use DRG, well they're just gateways into ICOM repeaters. Voice and GPS data is delivered to Redi-Talk Flex. Redi-Talk Flex is their product of a desktop, I suppose, a desktop with a map and a communication. So you've got a microphone and speaker, effectively a radio on a desktop. It has some dispatch. Redi-Talk Flex was pretty limited for us. So that was one of the decisions why we wanted virtual, and we certainly didn't get it with that. So we had an enhanced dispatch functions. Well, we needed enhanced dispatch functions with emergency services coordination, and I'll show you some of those things along the way. And we have a GPS location delivered into the state government, into the COP, they call it, Common Operating Platform. Has anyone heard of that? It's on the list. Radio repeaters, absolutely brilliant product in my opinion. Not that I've seen that many, but we've seen quite a few in the Antarctic division. I really reckon we haven't touched one. This product is really good too if you maintain it. So lifesavers and people, they won't maintain things, so they suffer after a while. You know, if they get full of sand and salt, and yeah, maybe they won't work. You know. Okay, so I'll move on. Okay, so here we are. So let's just talk about the radio stuff first. So this is an old diagram. So Penguin I merged Penguin and Ulverston into a beautiful site called Mount Montgomery. I don't know if you've heard of Mount Montgomery. So I've actually taken over Mount Montgomery. The UHF group didn't want it. So they said, oh, well,
Shane, what's his name?
Shane.
Coastal Electronics. Shane.
Oh, Shane. What a bloke.
Can't remember his last name.
Yeah.
I know someone who wants to go on Mount Montgomery, so
Oh,
I'll
do
talk to you afterwards.
Shane was wonderful, and he said, well, he owned it. He was paying an exorbitant fee to Parks for the privilege of putting this tower up, and he said, oh, well, if you take it on, and the government said, oh, well, if you give us $1 a year, well, you can have it. Oh, okay, cool, I'm happy with that concept. So it only costs us $1 a year. So that services, that's a fantastic site. It's right up on the coast above Penguin there, and that services Penguin to Ulverston and into Devonport, and the western side of that bluff of Devonport, which is a real problem for us. We've had 4 drownings there, and we don't have really good coverage in under there. We're trying to find a solution for that. The AMSA and their lighthouse wouldn't come to the party after 3 years of negotiating. You can imagine what that was like. We've got a lovely big site on Table Cape which stretches west and east into Burnie. It's more focused into Burnie with just a single dipole, which is focused into Burnie rather than designed back into Boat Harbour. Boat Harbour. I'm building a site at the moment on Asbestos Range. Another great site. We've got little ones in Port Sorell and Devonport, the little supplement ones. And Port Sorell will migrate into asbestos, so we can cover all the way up to Tamer. This one covers all the way to Newnham. And we've got one on the top of Bridport, which isn't too bad. It doesn't reach Flinders, but I reckon if you had a pretty good antenna on Flinders, you could probably pick it up if you tried. Down the coast here at Bicheno, I've got one on the top of Bicheno next to the broadcast tower there, on private land, thank goodness. And Clifton, and we've got one on private land in the back of Clifton, which is an amazing site. That covers most of, all of Frederick Henry Bay. It doesn't quite reach Marion Bay, and it goes all the way down the east side of Bruni. And a fair bit into the city, but not that far, not too far up past the bridge. I suppose you all know that the bridge is like a ridiculous place. Yeah, what's that?
It's the magic zone of death.
It is.
It stops.
Everything stops. It's amazing, isn't it? Well, it's just steel, I suppose, isn't it?
Even Noyena.
Too soon. Put those claws away. Settle down.
I do have a story about that, but I don't know if I'm going to. It's not true. Questions? Any questions? Oh, now, this cloud in the middle. So all of these, so the sites are interconnected via what we call collectors. So essentially, this is a collector. So it is a radio, which is connected to an Omintronics gateway, which is then connected to the internet. So the simplest way to do the internet, as Phil might know, or remember, to try and do a VPN over the internet was an interesting animal between different providers and different modes. So I said, no, I'm not doing this anymore because we never get it to work reliably. So we went with a hardware VPN provider called Sophos. Bulletproof. This is the second version of them. They call them Reds, I think they're called Red 20. This is an NBN, a WAN connected 4G fallover. So most of the time it's on WAN or cable, and then if the cable connection actually stops, or not that often have we had to do it, but it does actually work, so it falls over to 4G. that takes quite a few minutes to wind up, but eventually it does work quite well. So that's a collector. So we have a number of collectors just under each repeater, if that makes sense. So it's just a standard radio. So there's a collector at Ulverston, at Somerset. Devonport is well, it's separate. There's a co-location at Port Sorell and Bridport and Bicheno. The ones I've got one in my house, the collector for the Bicheno area, and there's another one in Luke's place down in Clifton. So they collect the voice and the GPS. Okay, very well. All on a 192.168 private network, so it's all nice and secure and works fairly well. I monitor it, do a little bit of monitoring, very simple monitoring, just pinging certain devices all around the place, just to make sure it's alive.
And you're up 24 hours a day?
Yes, all the time. Yep. With a minimum. I don't know if it's a 5 nines, but I know the solar stuff. The solar repeaters are very reliable. We haven't touched them for this one. Clifton's been up for nearly 10 years now. Never been touched.
Wow.
It's just amazing. Just test. We check it once a year or every second year. Similar, although the first version of Montgomery blew off. They had a severe storm, and I didn't really know what Shane had built and what was underneath. Was a few things were not as what we thought they were. Guy wires let go, and the base let go, and the whole solar panel and radio went over the cliff.
You call it a barrel at sea, wouldn't
Yeah. So it took 5 of us to winch it back up and cut it all down and get it to a reasonable size.
At least you're getting sea range.
Yes.
Okay, good grade as well, got salt water.
Yeah. So all the voice is collected, all the GPS is collected, and then let's just talk about GPS at the moment. So the GPS stuff is, so for example, this is a gateway in under there. Can't see it there. So the GPS data is sent into a server. So Omnitronics make a thing called a GPS server, which they collect all the string of GPS data, NMEA, off the top of my head, and then that is converted into an XML string. So that's then into they run this software. We run this software on a web server. Yeah, mobile stuff. Yeah, and we then we make it available for COP. Well, not COP. What's his name? Justin, I think. Justin to collect the data, and then he puts it into COP. I can show you all this in a minute, demonstration of it. Also, we have another product called another application we use called Firemapper. We came across the guys in New South Wales who provide fire services with a GIS mapping system. They have already worked out and had a solution for mapping any XML stream. So they mapped our GPS, the GPS coming from our radios. So in association with their application, it is a sensational solution for us because we can see where every boat is, or every radio that is a boat. Plus you can, I'll show you later in a minute about it, and we can do complete control of an incident with this Firemapper software. We'll try to see, where are we? Okay, we'll get some live stuff. Can you see that one? Yeah. If I go escape, I go back there. Bear with me. So this is a bit bigger now, isn't it? What's it look like on the screen? You can see that. For instance, there was a couple of guys on kayaks in the middle of the Longford Southeast River. I don't know if you remember, there was a rescue of them. And I don't know if you can see that. What you can do is place pins and icons onto this map, and we can pre-send information to boats. Go to this location, so we can send them a PDF. You can send them an email, send them a text with that map information on it, and go to this location or search from here to here. What have you searched so far? So we can, we can put on the map where people have been, and then we pass that on to the police department, so they can actually update what they've done so far. So that's a great tool that we use. Just trying to find another. Go back. If I go to edit, so you can see all the icons I can put on there. So they're just the Surf Life Saving Tas icons, search and rescue icons, or you can draw on the map. You can update the map and then send it off. It really is a great tool. So it's based for fire incident management. So this is online, and so it's internet dependent. You've got to have an internet connection to make it work. Do fire operations, vehicle locations, all these types of things. You can it tracks mobile phones as well. So if you've got your mobile phone registered, you can see a path of where your mobile phone's been, as well as the radio tracking. If I go to the list, I logged in. This is a bit. It's harder because it's bigger. Oh, okay, there's some logic there somewhere. Okay, so we can type in SIST, so we can do vehicle feeds, and we add that. Okay, so for instance, if we had a radio, I'll put this outside actually, and run this outside, turn it on, and it'll come up. So basically I need it to be on the same channel as what we're on here, which is the Search and Rescue Simplex channel. So I'll go Simplex, and I'll just leave it outside. Is that the door, isn't it? Yep.
I'll run it up for you.
Oh.
Continue talking.
Just
I'll
stick
just
it
set
out.
it outside.
Yeah, stick it outside so it's got CBS.
Disappearing down the road.
Yeah.
Watch him run.
Oh, he's going over the Tasman Bridge.
Yeah.
Oh, he's just fallen in the water. No.
Oh, he's not. He's at Hobart Airport.
With the updating of your assets, how often do they beacon?
Good question. Good question. At the
Sorry
moment.
it took so long. I just had to put the sign on it that said "Free to a good home."
At the moment, the northwest coast is on 3 minutes, 3-minute updates. This is the challenge, and I'm going to change it to 5 because we've got a congestion problem. Because at 3 minutes with 180 devices, 190 devices, it's not enough time.
Yeah, you're running out of.
So every 2 seconds there's a different, there's another radio pinging. So there's a problem with congestion on the network. So I've expanded it out to 5 minutes in a couple of sites around southern Tas, just to see how it goes, just to quieten it down a bit. So I can do this.
Congestion locally or at head office?
Very good question. Another good question. I'm assured by Omnitronics the GPS data is collected is what's the word? Kept within the collector. Okay, so if I'm in Bicheno Those GPS, those radios are pinging in every 3 minutes. Omnitronics assure me that it doesn't go any further into the network. Okay, I said prove it, and I haven't come back to me. Very interesting discussion we're having at the moment. Well, we've had it for a couple of years really, because I'm not convinced it's possible that's because the actual FDM signal is still passed via modulation, outside external modulation, through that 25 pin connector into the Omnitronics box. So it's E&M signalling. That was it.
I heard the signal just then from that radio.
Oh, see, that's congestion. You hear that? That shouldn't have happened. So that's congestion, even without any other radios on the network. So it's, why? One would ask. So I'm not convinced that the logic says that it shouldn't happen, because all of that signal, even though it's digital and it's still in an analog waveform, it's still getting to the box, and it should be being passed on, because I'm seeing the ID into the headquarters, and I'm seeing the data, the information, the voice is coming through, which is fine. So we're still trying to work through that. That's some of the limitations of Omnitronics, but yeah. Sorry, I'm not using this mouse. It's fun, isn't it? Should come up soon, maybe. So this tool's made available to the police search and rescue people, so they can have access to it, or they have access to it. So that gives them sort of a heads up of where assets are. Still nothing. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah. Where are we? There somewhere, aren't we?
Yeah, centre of them.
Righto. We'll just sit there and wait for that. So we'll go back to the. We'll come back to it. It should be a Simplex channel should reach in here, shouldn't it? You haven't got any Faraday cages around this, have we? Whoa!
We can either confirm or deny.
Probably need someone to take it actually off the side, I reckon.
There are issues with getting like things even with mobile phone signals out if we're transmitting.
How long does does it take for a GPS lock on those units?
Oh, quite a while.
Yeah.
Quite a while, yes. Now I'm going to find my presentation.
12-channel receivers.
Not very sensitive.
Control tab, maybe?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure where I'm at now.
Alt tab.
Alt tab.
Alt tab
That's
again.
it, Alt tab.
Look.
You just keep pressing.
Keep pressing tab while you hold Alt.
That
There
one.
you go.
Well done. Forgotten all that. I've forgotten Phil. How do you remember that? Oh, look out. We're there. So I was going to show you that those rings. Those rings are just demonstrating the range of what an IRB or a rescue boat could do. So a police coordinator could say, oh yes, Bicheno has one IRB. I don't know if you can read that. And to contact the club, we use a 13 number. 13 Surf is our contact, which is purely for the police department. It's not an advertised 13 number for obvious reasons. And we don't intend to be an emergency response. How do you say that? Yeah, we kind of are, but only for the police, not for the public. Don't want to be doing that.
Don't want to be looking after the public.
No, don't.
No.
That's what triple O's for.
Yes, that's what triple O is for.
Or 112 for mobile.
So we've just saw Firemapper. So, is there any questions about Firemapper? It's pretty obvious what it does. Solutions. So the benefits. Yeah, look, I'm talking about benefits for us. So we did a revised network now. Automatic delivers real-time GPS. Any team member is always visible on a screen in a browser at the State Emergency Government Coordination Centres. So workplace health and safety of assets, that's what we're after. It's purely about workplace health and safety.
So each boat has a radio assigned to it.
Yes.
So if the radio is faulty or got a flat battery, does that mean the boat's not in action?
Correct. Well, the boat won't be invisible, yeah. Yeah.
But they're still allowed to take it out.
Yes. 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 They would be
Wasn't
told.
very confident. Yes.
They generally come back if their radio doesn't work, then they would come back and change it.
So there's no spare radio and an easy way to reassign another radio to the marinas.
You mean on the screen?
Yeah.
Or absolutely, you can change the name. Soon as the radio comes back, and you can assign labels to each ID. So the digital radios have an ID, and we assign labels and names to each of those IDs. So if he changes, they turn off and they take a spare, and we can quickly see which ID it is, and then relabel him in the map.
So it's easy to relabel.
Oh, it's very, really simple. Yeah, which is a really good thing.
Yes.
It makes it so much
if
easier.
radios get swapped or
Yeah.
something.
Don't have
Do they
radio.
float?
No.
What's the point of being waterproof?
That's the boat's job, right?
No, they don't float. They do float in the bag. Most of them use them in bags. So we've got. That's the operations centre. Just as simple as it is for us. We hardly ever in here, because our job is really to get on site to the command centres. They call it command centres when they stand up. A police stand up a command centre. We just run virtually, so we can run this on an iPad. You can run on a laptop. You can run it on a phone. So we can just go and just have coordination on the move, on the run. We have duty officers who take the 1-3 surf call, and we have a system called SurfCom, and that dispatches people. So it's a message system where we can have groups of people. We send a message to them. Are you available? Please respond. And they say yes. They can send yes back to us, and so we can see a list of people responding. Then we give them instructions on the text. Go to the beach at Swansea and talk to a policeman there, whoever the coordination is, and they go from there. Generally, we try and get a coordinator to go. Most of the time, it's time-based. We don't have time to set up and coordinate. These teams that we send out are very capable drivers and crew, and they'll get most of their information off this radio, off the controller, off the repeater. Or you can't use phones are all right, but when they're wet, they're useless really. Phones, a touch screen is no good in an IRB in 25 knots in an open IRB. It's a waste of time. So you really need a robust radio that's going to give you the instant communications. I've got a couple of these. These are stand-up repeaters, just in a box, big battery, just a little Pelican case with an ICOM FR5000 in it. Diplexer, very, very simple, very reliable. Solar panel, that'll run for a week or more indefinitely. If we wind it down to 10 watts, you only ever use it at 10 watts. That's up at Great Lake. We use that. I'm trying to think of the name of the west of the Great Lake. Can't think. Miami, yeah. And we could cover most of the Great Lake with that when we're searching the edges of the Great Lake. So we're not just around the sea, we do other stuff around the lakes, water, anything water-based. I can talk about the Redi-Talk Flex, but this is an Omintronics product, and it really just didn't suit us. You can see there, that's each of those collectors, those yellow buttons. So if you pressed the yellow button, you would be talking to that collector, and that would transmit out through that to that repeater. So that's a PTT. So that you go either collect, put them all together and press PTT, or you can do them individually. You can do 2 or 3 of them. It's that component of it is really good, but they license their software so as it's PC based. You've got to have this PC has to travel around to be of any use to do that function. So it just didn't work. So we went with a statewide radio network where everyone can hear everyone else on every repeater, rather than trying to individualise it. And when they had a GPS, so this is their GPS solution on a white map of Tasmania. It just really wasn't any good for us. No detail. We tried to import some of the maps from the GIS server in COP, which worked a little bit, but then you've got to be able to control. So every time you reboot the PC, it wouldn't pick up that file, or, so it was just, you're trying to do something in 10 minutes. It just wasn't the solution for us. Okay, now comes the interesting discussion points. So this is RTP. So the RTP network, I suppose we're calling it RTP network because it's essentially voice over IP. So they call it radio over IP. It's essentially you're just putting synthesizing voice into packets and then transmitting them over the Ethernet. Very simple. Phil, remember all this?
Yes.
Okay.
Feels like flashbacks, by the way.
Oh. Yes. Telstra's VoIP solution, Phil. Sensational. It was actually quite good.
It actually was quite good. It's probably about 7 steps.
3 kilohertz voice
Yes. Yes.
or
Yes.
4 kilohertz?
3. On a 6.6K bandwidth.
What data rate?
Only 600.
Beyond the scope of the discussion, move on.
That's right. That's right. That's good. No, that's good because you remember. It's just remember all that. Okay, so just think about some of the issues we've got. Where am I going with this? Yes, that's right. So you've got all these. You've got these components. Think about voice over IP and what happens to it. So it goes through a repeater. There's a change of state in a repeater, isn't there? So it changes from receive to transmit. So that's a few milliseconds or a few bit of time. You go out, you go into collector, you go into this radio. Okay, so it's received, it's transmitted inside.
Still all analog in it?
No. So it's an analog signal in FDM.
Okay.
Yeah, so you've modulated. It's modulated in a frequency division multiplex channel, 6 kilohertz wide. Yeah, happy? Is that all right?
So the transceivers are digital transceivers?
Yes, they are. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. So that's then sent out the 25 pin into the Omnitronics box. 2 more changes of state. Come out of the Omnitronics box into the network, more changes of state, into the Sophos Red NBN modem, then go out again and then come out again. So what do you reckon, what's that going to cause?
Latency.
Latency.
Seconds of delay and latency. seconds. It's just amazing.
Well, it's a quarter of a second to a geostationary satellite and back. So if you're seconds,
It's appalling.
so it's over.
Yeah.
It's not a phone call.
No, yeah. It's over. Then wait. Yeah.
And double talk all the way through.
Okay. So you got a young, teenage, like this. Bang, bang, bang. Oh, yes, yeah, yes, no, yes, no. What's that going to do? What? It just puts its hands in the air and says, "Oh, it's too hard."
It overloads the system.
Oh well, it just gets cut off. Everything gets cut off.
So you put a PTT retime on the radios.
There's a lot of they do a lot of stuff in here. They can do timers, and they're all out on maximum. A lot of the repeater tail. There's no repeater tail at all now, so it's cut that right off. There's no repeater tail, and there's a good second of waiting for it to go through the network. At least a second.
What I mean is on the individual radios,
Yes.
you have, let's just say, a 3-second arbitrary.
Yeah.
You hold the PTT,
Yeah.
you let go of the PTT. If you get to go again, that 3 seconds, you have to mandatory wait with a beep at you and say no go. That's one way, but not an ideal solution.
No. Oh, the ICOMs do a busy thing.
Busy channel
Busy
lookout.
channel lookout.
So where's the delay? Is it transport latency or is it processing latency?
Both.
Right.
It's all
wow.
of that. All of that. All of that. So that's so we've got a few solutions. The latest one that's in place at the moment. So that's for example here we are. This is the Sophos network. So we come through the DRGs, the gateways, into the internet, down to the headquarters, and then out again, because Sophos being a hardware VPN, the brains is in the head router, so it's called a UTM. So the other devices are dependent on it. So it's not a meshed. What's the word? It's not a meshed network.
Yeah, no mesh.
However, I got to throw over that a little bit by using multicast. So I went away from TCP/IP, which is Ethernet connection type technology, to a multicast, where it's just a broadcast. Has everyone heard of multicast networks? First version of it was when Phil and I used to install racing. What's it called? Tas Racing was multicast. All those screens we used to put up in the pubs and things. What are they called? You remember?
I wasn't involved with that.
Oh, did you? Oh, before.
It's an responsibility, wasn't it?
I put a few nodes in different pubs.
Ah, right.
Norton Ghost used to use that using desktops, which was great. She could do an entire call centre in one go.
Yeah. So I've got multicast in the network at the moment, and that's reduced significantly the delay, or the perceived delay. So that helps a lot, because it comes in from one and all of them hear that, and it's just sent without a TCP/IP. Yeah, acknowledgement. Yes. Can you connect? No. Can I connect? That's not done anymore. So it's just blasted straight out.
UDP basically.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
UDP. Yeah.
Greg,
Yes.
you hinted on it. What happens if the UTM goes down? Does the network go down?
Yes. Yes.
The only way you can avoid that is to have multiple UTMs.
And we do. We've got
Okay.
dual UTMs on battery backup
No. Okay.
with separate internet providers. One's Launtel, one's Telstra. Different fibres into the headquarters. And that's the only way I would keep it up. You can't rely on 4G too much. 4G is fairly reliable in the city, although we've seen that recently, haven't we, with another provider. Okay, so now Now I've and kind of had an inkling. I don't know if you know AJC Electronics, Ashley Cooper.
Yep.
Yeah, Ashley has been really good. He's my ICOM supplier or ICOM guys. And hey?
Dealer would be the better word.
Yes.
He gives you the good shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but the first one is never free.
He's been good because he gets into the ICOM guy in Australia, and we can get some information from him, some particular bits, which is pretty good. So ICOM were very hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it? Here we go again, hindsight. In the FR5000s, this little repeater, you can put an IP card in it, an IP like an Ethernet card. So suddenly, I can almost delete all that, and I can go from one repeater. All the repeaters can talk to each other via Ethernet. And would you believe? It's almost you could almost can't see. You cannot see the delay. It is that good. It's just astounding how different it was. So I had two in the backyard, like two repeaters, both on 4G, so they're separate connections. I could talk into one. You can almost hear myself straight away on the other one. It's just phenomenal. Whereas if I had two of these collectors, it would have been hello. Hello! Like two or 3 seconds later. So the delay was suddenly just completely gone. So that solution, so we're slowly rolling this out. We're putting LAN card or IP cards in the repeaters across the north of the state, just to test it. It does create more complexity in that we don't have as many Omnitronics gateways. So according to Omnitronics, then all the GPS data will be spread across this network, across these. Because they say, well, we collect the GPS and keep it within that gateway. Well, we'll see. So we're heading towards the other benefit. We're trying to talk about the other benefits of that. Yeah, we'll talk about the benefits of this is that I can put them into zones. So I can have zones. I can have an East Coast zone, a Southern zone and a North Coast zone. And all these guys can hear each other instantly. There's no delay, there's no issues with kids operating radios. The cost is probably a bit cheaper too, so the rollout of additional repeaters isn't going to be that much more. And the other thing is that what it provides is voting. We all know about voting, don't we? So these voting system and the repeater, so the transceivers scan and compare each site's signal strength. So ICOM tell me that these repeaters are now talking to each other, and they're actually updating tables to say, yeah, I've got ID such and such, and I've got ID such and such. And until the RSSI changes, the signal strength changes, the radios will go between whichever repeater they pick up. So that's another great step from us, because then I can have some on Montgomery, which is pointing into the bluff of Devonport, and one on Asbestos pointing the other way. So it depends where they are. They can go around the bluff and they'll change from one repeater to the other. So the coverage is just dramatically increased for us. Well, the simplicity of the coverage is increased.
So it means your user operator doesn't have to change channel, it's automatically done for them.
So we just have one channel.
So in fact, it's almost seamless roaming basically between different repeaters.
Same as our VK link with Grey Mountain and Mount Wellington.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So that's where we're heading. So yeah, that's almost me. How am I going for time? Ahead of time?
Spot on.
Oh, really?
Dead on.
So this is the conclusions from the presentation. Health and safety was the big step. Real-time data, beyond the flag stuff we did, and integration with government systems. Hopefully if I go alt tab, it says.
Should see if that radio's connected. No.
You're right.
Where did he put it? Is it even on?
Probably in the boot of the car.
I stuck out in the barbecue.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Oh, it's gone off the map by now.
Yeah, it's got the power save now.
Oh well. Some demonstrations work, some don't, do they? Questions? Any more questions? Any questions?
So, with the new system you got building, they're still running presumably redundant links via 4G and that sort of thing, or between each other, between repeaters?
So we're running. So all the collectors. No, we haven't done that. No.
Okay.
Haven't. Yeah, they're going to be 4G. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I beg your pardon. Yes. Yes.
So that'll be in the back of each ICOM radio, it goes to a separate 4G.
So again.
Each ICOM radio will talk to a 4G modem or whatever to get its...
No, well, I'll just be dropping Sophos boxes into the repeater sites.
Nice.
Simple as that. These are quite a good box. They're not cheap, but
They do a good job though.
they do. Yeah.
I remember working with Sophos when all they did was antivirus. And
Yes.
One of the best ones out there. That was back in the UK.
Yeah, that was the big step. That's where the UTMs we have. They're the firewall which runs the headquarters
Yeah.
network.
Unified threat management. Yeah.
Greg, you've obviously put a lot of effort into this and a lot of investment, but the TasGov radio network, given that you mentioned you do some work for SES, and I believe they're on that,
Yeah.
where's that all at with you?
After 3.
No.
Did you turn it off?
No, I did not. Just in case I was holding it by the antenna. I didn't want to be responsible for anything.
So, well, how can I say it kindly?
You weren't invited in?
No.
Cost of entry for the...
We weren't. Cost of entry was. They said, at your own cost.
Pretty bit.
It's just ridiculous.
It's
Like
a
it's.
bit
I don't.
unkind, isn't it?
Yeah, the cost of the waterproof radio P25, Motorola P25, what do they call it? Moto something?
Moto Turbo.
Moto Turbo.
No, that's DMR.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Between
Okay,
9 and
so-
25,000
You're kidding.
per unit.
You're talking for the current GRN.
They're going to bankrupt, Motorola's going to bankrupt Tasmania.
People are
8,000.
people are selling those radios on eBay for
So
it.
they're expensive.
They're very expensive.
They're about $3.5, $4 grand per radio. That's a portable.
So that was,
About the same for mobiles.
at the moment, it's out of the question. So SES have said to us, oh, well, if need be, we'll hand a control window. So like a team leader will have one, like a GRN radio and one of ours, because then we can at least. They did actually put the old analog 32A channel in their GRN radio, would you believe? So go back to analog, we lose all our tracking. I said, no, it's not going to work. You can do what you like. So that was the end of the discussion, and they went off and did an analog solution in their GRN radios. If you ever get to see a GRN radio, look for the SLST channel.
I understand there might be a few GRN radios with amateur repeaters in them as well, but that's another story.
Well, it was just, I offered a simple solution up where you could have a talk group. We're actually going to buy you could buy a compatible radio and a P25 gateway from Omnitronics, and we'd have that talk group straight into the network, and we could just very simply have one radio, and it would just, you could have it on a separate zone. You can have separate RANs. It was quite secure, Yeah. The lady said, "Oh, that's above my pay grade." Okay. So at this stage, Phil, no. So that's why I'm still persevering and just sort of tweaking it, making it as as reliable as it needs to be. We'd only do, like we've only done 15 1-3 surf calls since Christmas. So we're doing 15, what's the month? So 15 a month, which isn't that bad for summer. It's not a lot. So it's difficult to fund something that isn't used a lot, but you need to fund it enough to make it reliable. So there's this background sort of amount of money you need to spend. I've only spent the initial spend was 140 grand, I think, and then we've just added on little bits and pieces, not a lot more than that, probably 150,000, which isn't much for a pretty big network.
Or for effectively a Tasmania-wide network.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Plus we've got 2 portables. I've got a little satellite dish, a little, which, no, not yet. I've got a Starlink at home, sensation. Can't think of the satellite that uses, the fixed one over India.
Inmarsat.
Inmarsat, yeah, Inmarsat. It's 2,400 bits per second, and it actually works. The delay's not too bad. Yeah, so it actually works quite well. Ridiculous amount of money you pay for it, and but it works anywhere. So I can have those 2 portable repeaters and collectors. But they've got access to that satellite dish, and we can pretty well go anywhere in Tas with it, and it's reconnected back into the network.
Any other questions for Greg? Other questions?
What dedicated frequencies does SLS have?
Look that up on the ACMA database.
I get on the ACL
He's not making it easy for you.
What band are you in?
the same. In the
No
market.
HF? No longer?
No, we didn't do HF, and the closest we got to was 70 centimetres, I think, was it? Like the SES band. Is it 70?
70 megs.
70 megs. We tried that once and it just didn't work that well with the Omintronics stuff, so we did one, SARX with them, and I had a lot of trouble with it, trying to get it to work. And I'm not sure whether it was the radio. So we spent too much time on it with no real solution, and they were already going to GRN, so we just sort of abandoned that. We didn't go any further with it. Back to frequencies, yeah, we're still lurking around the marine band, lurking around it in the VHF, the 160s.
Not using your own frequencies anymore.
Yeah, they're our own, so they're allocated by the ACMA. Being a charity, we don't pay for them, which is good.
Do you have to use call signs? How do operators identify?
No, because it's private channels.
I'm trying to remember, it was some time ago.
They do if they're using we still have coastal stations at each club. They're almost gone now. Channel 16, if they, we used to use coastal stations a long time ago.
Is there any interaction between TMR and yourselves?
Not really, no. Barry and I had a discussion 10 years ago, I think, and that was probably about it. Barry, isn't it? Barry?
Barry?
Yeah, Barry.
Barry McCann,
yeah. Look, they run. I would like. Well, yeah. It's having a central radio point would be good, but he doesn't want to take on the responsibility of the call, because we actually manage the response call. So where are you? What are you doing? Yes, we will send an asset to you. whereas Barry passes it on. He passes it on to the police department.
It's just a monitoring service.
Yeah.
They're providing.
And he wasn't prepared to take it on, which is fair enough. And that's
And there
his.
isn't linkage into TES GRN, I'll just say that.
There is.
Well, there isn't.
There isn't. No,
There isn't.
no, not at all. No,
So, yeah.
no. No. So we. Yeah, that, which I totally agree with him at the time. Yeah, that's if he didn't want to do that, that was quite a few years ago now. We haven't talked at all about it.
Just seemed to me there was some sort of an
Yeah.
overlap there.
Yeah, possibly. Yes. Yeah, but no.
Fair enough.
Water and radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final questions.
Final witness.
Can we show our appreciation, please? Fantastic, thank you, Greg.
No worries.
I just want to finish off. Can I remind people about the AGM and the special general meeting in a couple of weeks' time? It is on Sunday. There is a free barbecue from noon, and then we get underway with the meetings at 1. So that's a couple of weeks' time on the 18th. So yeah, just wanted to remind people up here. You get a free feed, and for the free feed, we get you to stay for the meeting.
Lock the gates.
Lock the door. No. The AGM will be a standard AGM, but can I please get you along for the special general meeting, because the special general meeting is about the merger of Wyson into Reast. So, and we do need some feeling from the members as to whether we want to go down that path or not. So please come along and let us know what you're thinking. So yeah. Anyway, that's all. By all means, stay, have a look at the equipment, and ask any final questions of Greg. So thank you very much.
No worries, my pleasure.
That's good.